that Marine Penny was charged with manslaughter finally. So the guy who choked out the homeless man in the New York subway, for a while, it wasn't sure what would happen. Would he be charged or not? And finally, they did charge him with second degree manslaughter. I think this was probably pretty much expected. We didn't talk about this yet, so I just want to outline my take on the situation in general, which is that
Like how much firsthand or like actual footage is there on this whole thing?
as far as I could see, very little. You have footage where it starts with him choking him, so you don't have anything from before.
Hmm.
And then you have some footage of, okay, he stopped choking him, and they're kind of standing over him and maybe checking on him and waiting for authorities to come. You really don't have that much. And you had
Hmm.
a few interviews of people on the train. We don't have a lot of facts. And that's pretty much my angle with this story, which is that we don't have enough information to really say what happened. And all the people who are reacting to it and they have a very firm belief that either A, this guy is a murderer and also probably a racist. He wanted to just kill a black man that day. They don't have enough information to support that assertion at all. But also, B, the people who think that this guy was an American hero and he saved tons of people's lives. There was imminent threat that he needed to do this exact thing. There's not enough evidence to say that either, right? There's just some eyewitness testimony, and he was acting erratically. Acting erratically is. I'm not a lawyer, but usually is not justification to attack somebody, right?
Yeah.
Um, if he made a verbal threat at somebody, like he says, "I'm gonna punch you" or something, okay, that's a totally different story, right? And if it seems like a serious threat that could happen, I think most juries and jurisdictions would say, okay, you're justified to intervene. I don't know if you're justified to choke him for 15 minutes, but you are justified to do something because you don't have to wait until somebody attacks another person to do something. We just don't have enough information, and we have a few interviews, but that's not testimony in court. And there may be more video that we haven't seen. You have experts who need to do an autopsy and say, well, why did he die, right? Was it because he was
Yep.
just choked, or did he have some pre-existing condition where, just doing something to him that to a normal person wouldn't be fatal? It was fatal for him because he had some pre-existing thing going on. So all of this will speak to whether or not this guy acted in a reasonable way. People who have a firm view of whether he did or not, I think they're just drawing on their pre-existing biases, right? They're just
Yeah.
either they think that yeah, well, white guy attacking black guys is always racism, or they think some crazy homeless guy on the subway, I'm sure he's going to do something crazy in the next minute, so you may as well just choke him. That's an assumption. That's drawing from your bias. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who you can go ahead and say these things, but just be prepared if there are more facts that come out during the trial for you to look kind of stupid because you were operating off of very little information to begin with.
Did you see that there's a GoFundMe that's already raised almost 2 million?
Oh, wow. That's ridiculous. He doesn't need $2 million for his illegal.
Exactly. And so I put the video in the
Oh,
notes. And Tim personally donated 20K.
wow. I mean, I
Because
bet I bet only like 200K would be enough probably for him.
like
This is ridiculous.
Vivek donated 10K.
Well,
I
yeah,
just
I
think
mean, that's like virtue signaling on the right, essentially. It's like, look at me, I'm
exactly.
donating to this guy,
Exactly.
right?
I
Like, he
totally
doesn't
agree.
need
It's
it,
like these people are all jumping the gun on this. I mean, I don't know.
right?
Maybe some amount of money is justified, but it totally feels like virtue
I think
signaling to me.
some is. I think that if you feel like, okay, he deserves a good defense, right?
Yeah.
I don't even deny that. I think he deserves a good defense because I think it's gray enough that he should have a good defense. But $200,000 is probably about enough for that. Three at most, I'm thinking. Like 2 million is like an all-star
Yeah.
OJ defense or something.
Yeah, Tim is saying that if there's extra left over, that he hopes that Daniel just takes it and lives a good life.
No, I think that's
They're, they're,
moronic. Like, why?
they're so confident that this guy is innocent. It's just, yeah, I don't know. The
I think that
predictability is actually getting kind of old. It's like,
It's very possible he is, but we just need more information.
Exactly.
And you
Yeah.
can't. It's a. I know the thing is you don't get clicks. You don't get views by saying, "Oh, not enough information," because that's just a non-answer answer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't. It shouldn't
Well, it's,
be,
it's what
but
we're doing.
yeah, but it's not a sexy clickbaity thing. These people, they just want to jump on it because they, pre-existing bias, and it's a touchstone, it's a flashpoint, and you gotta take your side and virtue signal. Okay, so talk to us again in about a year, and then more evidence will be out there for us. I wish people would hold off and not do all the virtue signaling because you can get egg on your face if well, I guess maybe not even these days because a year from now, it's just old news and you don't have to, I mean, does Kamala Harris have egg on her face for being 100% behind Juicy Smollett? Right? No one even cares now, even though you look like a total fucking moron. But hey, that was years ago. So who cares? Just move on to the next thing, right? Maybe that's the same thing that will happen in this case. One thing I will disagree with, like there's people who say, well, he shouldn't ever even have been charged in the first place. I'm like, no, I mean, I think it's in the gray enough area, and you don't really know that it's fair to charge him. If
Hmm.
it's really clear that he didn't do anything wrong, then I think we'll just go through the process and then he'll be acquitted. One thing I will say that leads me to believe that he's not guilty of manslaughter and that he was acting reasonably is that he wasn't doing it alone, right? There were other people who came in and sort of assisted in subduing this person. Did anybody at the time say something like, "Hey, you should stop choking him" or something like that? Right? Everything that went down seemed reasonable to a plurality of people in that train at the time, I think. So that leads me to believe that it seemed like a reasonable course of action to them based on what he actually did, how long he did it, etc., and also what this person was doing before to precipitate this. It all seemed reasonable to multiple people there at the time.
Hmm.
They didn't say, "Hey, why are you just jumping on this guy?" If he shot him in the back of the head, I bet you anything, some people would immediately say, "Whoa, whoa, that was really disproportionate."
Yeah.
Or if he just started slamming his face into the side of the train or something. But nobody seemed to think that at the time. They said, "Oh, this guy was acting crazy, and we did feel threatened." Or they implied that they felt threatened enough that they did want some intervention like this to happen.
Also, I mean, this happened in a New York City subway. I figure the chances of somebody being on the left are higher.
Yeah, most people there are probably, left leaning, and yet, despite that, it seems again, this is one of those things where we need to wait for actual witness testimony under oath. But based on the few interviews afterwards, and based on the fact that nobody has come out and said anything different, it seems like they all felt it was pretty justified at the time, and that's based on what they experienced and what they saw right then and there.